Social Studies, Contemporary History, Spain in the 20th and 21st century. In this unit we are going to learn about the reign of Alfonso XIII, dictatorship of Miguel I de Rivera, the Second Spanish Republic, Spanish Civil War, the Franco era, transition and democracy. We should also remember the timeline of all the kings that reigned in Spain during the 19th century. Alfonso XIII was the last king of the Spanish Restoration. He was the son of Alfonso XII and was proclaimed king in 1902. During his reign, there were serious social and political conflicts in Spain. For example, strikes. Labor unions organized them to get better job conditions for workers. Nationalisms, groups in Catalonia, the Basque Country and Galicia demanded autonomy, and the war in Morocco, because many Spanish soldiers died and Spain lost many territories there. Taking advantage of the social and political conflict, General Primo de Rivera led a coup in 1923. In a coup, a person or group takes control of a government by force. Primo de Rivera established a military dictatorship. He assumed all powers of the state, abolished the constitution, banned all political parties and labor unions, and limited freedom for citizens. King Alfonso XIII supported the dictatorship, but he was not part of the government. Primo de Rivera won the war with Morocco, and many roads, railways and other public works were built under his rule. However, the population opposed his dictatorship and wanted more freedom. In 1930, Alfonso XIII stopped supporting Primo de Rivera, so the dictator had to resign. General elections were held in 1931. The Republican parties won, and Alfonso XIII went into exile. In 1931, after the general elections, the Second Spanish Republic was proclaimed, and Aniceto Alcalá Zamora was appointed President of the Republic. A new constitution was approved, which included the right to vote for women and the separation of church and state. The Catholic religion was not the official religion of Spain. Also, the first statutes of autonomy for Catalonia and the Basque Country were approved. The government of the Republic implemented many reforms, including land, education and labor. Land, for example, some lands were given to peasants. It was very important in Andalusia. Education, a lot of schools were built. And in reference to labor, a minimum wage or salary was established and the workday was reduced. However, these reforms were not accepted by everyone, and violent conflicts escalated over time. In 1936, General Francisco Franco led a coup against the government of the Republic. This event started the Spanish Civil War, which finished in 1939. During the war, the Spanish population was divided into two areas. The Republican area, they supported the Republic, and the nationalist area, they supported General Franco. After 3 years of war, General Franco's troops occupied all the Spanish territory. After the war, General Francisco Franco took power and established a dictatorship that lasted from 1939 to 1975. This dictatorship is known as Francoism. As a result of establishing a dictatorship, the consequences were that the constitution was abolished, new laws that restricted individual liberties were created. All power was concentrated in one person. Franco was head of state and government and commander-in-chief of the military. Political parties and labor unions were banned. There was only one political party and one labor union, both controlled by the government. The statutes of autonomy were revoked. Spanish was imposed as the official language. Censorship was put into place. Books, films, plays, theater, and anything against the ideas of the dictatorship were banned. The first years of the dictatorship were difficult. People who had supported the republic faced harsh repression. Many were arrested or killed, and others went into exile. During these years, Spanish became internationally isolated. As a result of the Spanish dictatorship, many countries broke off diplomatic and commercial relations with Spain. This isolation and the destruction of infrastructures and industries during the war led to an economic crisis. As a result, the population became poor and often did not have access to food and other basic products. Between 1970 and 1975, opposition to the Franco regime escalated. Labor unions were still banned, but they started to organize underground, which means they met in secret. In addition, students participated in demonstrations that demanded a democratic form of government. On the 20th of November 1975, General Franco died and the dictatorship ended. It was the beginning of a new era in which democracy was established. After the death of General Franco in 1975, Juan Carlos I, grandson of Alfonso XIII, was crowned King of Spain. In 1976, the king appointed Adolfo Suárez as president. A series of reforms were adopted and Spain could become a democratic country again. Elections took place in 1977 and the Central Democratic Union, Unión de Centro Democrático, or la UCD, was elected, the party led by Adolfo Suárez. After the 1977 elections, representatives of the major political parties wrote a constitution which was approved by Parliament. In 1978, Spaniards voted in favor of the constitution in a referendum. The constitutions of 1978 established that Spain is a democratic country whose national sovereignty resides in the Spanish people, with a parliamentary monarchy as a form of government. Our Constitution also guarantees citizens' rights such as equality under the law, freedom of expressions, and the right to vote for all citizens over 18 years of age. The Constitution also recognizes the organization of the Spanish territory in autonomous communities. Between 1979 and 1995, Spain was organized into 17 autonomous communities and 2 autonomous cities. New elections were held in 1979 and the party of Adolfo Suárez, la UCD, won again. During this mandate, Spain suffered a serious economic crisis and terrorist attacks by ETA were frequent. In 1981, while Parliament was voting to elect Leopoldo Calvo Sotelo as the new president, a small group of military officers led by Lieutenant Colonel Antonio Tejero attempted a coup. However, Tejero did not have support from political parties, the people, or the king, and the coup failed. In reference to art and culture, we have to say that main Spanish artists during the 20th century were Pablo Ruiz Picasso. He was born in Malaga. He invented Cubism. In this innovative painting style, three-dimensional human figures and objects are represented on a flat canvas using different geometrical shapes. Also Salvador Dalí, he was born in Figueres, Girona. He used light, color and drawings to express the world of dreams. And Joan Miró, he was born in Barcelona. He used bright colors and geometrical shapes to create a fantasy world similar to the world of a child. Another well-known painters include Antoni Tàpies, Antonio López and Miguel Barceló. During the 20th century and in the present day, sculptors have worked with materials such as iron, steel, plastic or even recycled materials to create distorted human sculptures. The main Spanish sculptors include Pablo Gargallo, Eduardo Chillida and Juan Muñoz. From the 20th century, architects have created multi-shaped buildings using a variety of materials such as reinforced concrete, steel, glass, aluminium and titanium. Now we will talk about literature. Since the 20th century, Spain has produced great writers. In narrative, Miguel Delibes, Camilo José Cela, who was a Nobel Prize for Literature, Javier Marías, Arturo Pérez Reverte. In reference to poetry, we had Federico García Lorca and Rafael Alberti, who were part of the group of poets known as the Generation of the 27. And in reference to drama, Jacinto Benavente, who was Nobel Prize for Literature, and Fernando Gomez.